Hello students, today's topic is Stodola's method, and we know that we are continuing with multi-degree of freedom system. So today's topic is Stodola's method. Okay. Now what is Stodola's method? Okay, and for which purpose this Stodola method is used? That we are going to see in today's lecture. Okay. So first we'll see the theory behind Stodola method. What is the theory behind the Stodola method? So what are the features? What are the fundamentals behind Stodola's method? On which principle this Stodola method works? So all these questions we are going to see in today's lecture. Okay. First of all, it is a very simple method, and if you pay attention, then in one example only you can learn the entire tricks and traits of this method. Okay, so first we begin with the features of Stodola's method. Okay, so what are the features? What is the theory behind the Stodola method? On which principle this Stodola method works? That we are going to see first. So first point is to find the natural frequencies of multi-degree of freedom system. Now we know that multi-degree of freedom system, so multi-degree of freedom system means when there are more than one coordinates which governs the position of the masses in the multi-degree of freedom system is called MDOF. Okay, so more than one coordinates decides the position of the particles in the system, so that is called multi-degree of freedom system. And we know that if the number of masses are more in the system, then the natural frequencies will be more in multi-degree of freedom system. And when we need to find out the natural frequencies of such a complex system, then it is very cumbersome. Okay, and there are many techniques which are used to find out the natural frequency of multi-degree of freedom system. Okay, and one of the various methods of finding the natural frequency is the Stodola's method. Okay, so finding the natural frequencies of multi-degree of freedom system is the Stodola's method. Now there are various different methods. So various methods of finding the natural frequency of multi-degree of freedom system. Number one is Rayleigh method, Rayleigh's method. Then second is Holzer method, Holzer method. Third one is the Stodola method. Fourth one is Dunkerley's method or Dunkerley's formula, you can say. So all these various methods are there: Rayleigh's method, Holzer method, Stodola method, Dunkerley method. So all these are the name of the mathematicians or name of the scientists who have developed these methods. Okay, so on the basis of the names of the mathematicians, they are Rayleigh methods, Holzer method, Stodola method, and Dunkerley formula. So all these methods have common one thing. So there is one or two common things in all these methods. Number one, they are approximate method. Approximate. That means they doesn't give the exact solution. Actually, these methods are based on trial and error. Okay, so trial and error, and then once the answer get converged, then they come out with the solution. Okay, so basically they are approximate method. That means they are trial and error, you can say. or you can say iterative. Iterative would be most appropriate word for these types of methods. So they are iterative method. Iterative method. So number of iterations are required. The answer doesn't come in one iteration. So there are number of iteration, and at the end of number of iterations, you will get the final answer. That is the final natural frequency. Okay. And a lot of assumptions are also involved in these methods. Okay, so you need to assume various parameters in different methods to find out the natural frequency. Okay, so these are the common points. They are approximate methods, they are iterative methods, they are all they require a lot of assumptions. So all these are the features of various methods, out of which today we are dealing with the Stodola method. Okay, so to find out the natural frequencies of multi-degree of freedom system, it is the Stodola method is used. Then second, we have seen that it is an approximation method. Okay, so it is based on trial and error. Okay, so it is an approximation method. Again, it is an iterative method. You won't get the answer in the first iteration. You need to perform various iterations, and depending upon the complexity of a problem and depending upon your assumptions, actually you don't know how many iterations you require to come to the final assumptions, because it is all about hitting arrows in the dark. Okay, so you don't know how many iterations are required to converge with the final answer, so that you don't know. So it is an iterative methods, and it is an approximation method. The fourth point is it is applicable to fixed free end type of systems. Now what do you mean by this fixed free end? It is only applicable. Okay, the Stodola method is only applicable to fixed free end type of a system. Now what do you mean by fixed free end? So we'll see fixed free end. Actually so in this system, this is a 3 degree of freedom system. There are 3 masses. Okay, and these are the M1, M2, M3, K1, K2, K3. So 3 springs are there, 3 masses are there. But if you see this end, so this end is fixed, and this end is free. So there is no restriction on this end. Okay, so this is called fixed free end system, and this Stodola method is only applicable to this fixed free end system. Had it been a case where here also a spring is there and this is also fixed, so this is a fixed type of a problem, and Stodola method is not applicable to the fixed type of a method. Or in another case, so in this case there are 3 masses and ends are simply supported. That means both the ends are free, they are pivoted, they are not fixed, they are free ends or pivoted ends. So Stodola method is also not applicable to this simply supported type of problem. Okay, it is only applicable to fixed free end type of the problem. Okay, so these are the 4 features of the Stodola method. Okay, now to understand the Stodola method and to understand the various steps involved in Stodola method, we will take one example. Okay, we will solve one problem, and while solving the problem, I will explain you the steps which are required for solving using Stodola method. So what are the steps involved in this method, Stodola method, that we are going to see while solving the problem itself. Because if I teach you the steps, so that won't be a outcome based. So then there won't be a very fruitful discussion. Okay. Instead, I will apply all the steps while solving this problem, and while solving, you will understand the steps involved in the Stodola method. Okay. So for that, we will take one example. So this is the numerical or example. Use Stodola's method. So here in the question itself, they have mentioned that you need to use Stodola method, because if the method is not mentioned, so that means you can either use Rayleigh's method or Holzer method or Stodola method or Dunkerley's method or Lagrange's method to find out the natural frequency of multi-degree of freedom system. So here they have mentioned that you need to use the Stodola method to find out, to determine the first natural frequency. Okay. Now looking at the figure given in this problem, we can clearly understand that there are three masses. That means there will be three natural frequencies. But out of the three natural frequency, you need to find out the first natural frequency only. You need to find out the first natural frequency. So here it is clearly mentioned that determine the first natural frequency of the system as shown in figure. So this figure is given. Then there are some, the stiffness value is given. K is equal to 3 kilonewton per meter. Mass is given as 100 kg. Carry out iterations until you achieve the approximation at least up to the first decimal. Okay, so you need to converge your answers till you will get the corrected values up to first decimal. Okay, now how to converge the values up to first decimal, that I will explain you while giving the solution to this problem. Okay. Consider the system is frictionless. So these masses are freely sliding on this surface, so there is no friction involved. Now if you see that there are three masses, the mass 1 is having m, this mass is having 2m, and this mass is having m. And if you see the springs, so there are combination of springs are used. So here one spring is there which is having the stiffness of k. Now between m and 2m there is a combination of spring. Now we have already learned how to find out the equivalent spring constant when there are combination of springs. So springs may be attached in parallel, or they may be attached in series, and how to find out the equivalent stiffness when the springs are attached in series and parallel. Okay, so here this spring is in series with the two parallel springs. Okay, so you need to find out the equivalent spring constant between m and 2m. Similarly, between 2m and m there are two parallel springs, so we need to find out the equivalent spring constant or equivalent stiffness of the spring between 2m and m. So this is a problem, and we need to apply the Stodola's method for finding the first natural frequency up to accuracy of 1 decimal. Okay, so we will apply the Stodola method. For this I will make one table and then I will explain. So our first thing is to find the equivalent stiffnesses of the springs between the two masses. So here it is only one spring, so this is K. Now here two springs are parallel, and we know that when the springs are in parallel, then their stiffnesses are simply added with each other. So this 2K plus 2K becomes 4K, and this 4K is in series with this K, and we know that the equivalent stiffness K equivalent is calculated as 1 upon K plus 1 upon 4K. So 1 upon K equivalent is equal to, so this becomes 5K by 4. So sorry, yes, 5K by 4K. 4K square. Okay. So K equivalent is equal to 4K upon 5. So this is 4K by 5. Okay. Similarly, these two springs are parallel with each other, so this K plus 2K becomes 3K. So this is the equivalent system that we have converted. Now we need to plot this table. As I told you, Stodola method is an iterative method, so we require different types of number of iterations. So this table is used for every iteration. Okay. Now this table you should learn by heart. At least this portion should be learned. So this thing, so these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, these 6 rows you have to learn by your heart. So whenever you are doing a solution of a Stodola method, then you should able to write down these 6 rows. Okay. Assume the displacement of masses xi, inertia forces mxi omega square. So force on spring Fi, spring displacement, calculate displacement of masses and ratio. So these are the 6 parameters that you should learn by your heart, and these horizontal parameters can be easily write down by seeing the problem. Now here you always start with the fixed end. So this is the fixed end. This is fixed end. So always start writing the horizontal parameters from the fixed end. So first parameter is K. So write down K. Then what is the next parameter? It is M. So write down M. Then next is 4K by 5. So write down 4K by 5. Then it is 2M. Then 3K and M. So in this sequence, you should write down the horizontal parameters, whereas the vertical parameters you need to आपको रट्टा मारना है. ओके. ये आपको याद करके रखना है. ओके. ये जो 6 पैरामीटर्स है, स्टोडोला मेथड बोला तो ये 6 पैरामीटर्स आपको ऐसा ही लिखना है. So there is no confusion about the vertical parameters and horizontal parameters. Vertical parameters you need to learn by your heart. I will explain the technique also, and horizontal parameters you can write down by seeing the problem. Always start from the fixed end and write down the stiffnesses and masses in the correct sequence. Okay. Now the first step of the Stodola method is assume displacement of masses. Okay, assume displacement of masses as 1. Okay, so there are 3 displacement. So these are the x1, x1, x2, x3. So as I explained that lot of assumptions are required in Stodola method or LS method or Holzer method, Ankerli formula or Lagrange's. So the first assumption is you need to assume the displacement at the 3 masses as 1. So displacement at x1 as 1, x2 as 1, x3 as 1. So assume displacement of masses as xi. So xi, here I stands for mass 1, for mass 2 and mass 3. So x1, x2, x3. So value of I is 1, 2 and 3. So this is xi. And whose displacement we are taking? The masses. Okay, so the masses are undergoing the displacement, and we know that in the vibration model we are only concerned with the displacement of mass, nothing else. Okay, so here we are taking the displacement of masses. So write down the displacement of as 1, 1, 1 below the masses. These things they are cancelled out. They are cancelled out. Okay, so write down 1, 1, 1. So assume the displacement of masses as 1, 1, 1. This is the first assumption. Okay. Then the second point is find the inertia forces. Okay. And we know that inertia force means mass into acceleration. So inertia force is what? Mass into acceleration. We have used this inertia force many times while applying the Newton's second law of motion. Okay, and this inertia force is m I xi double dot. Okay, and we know that x is x sin omega t, x dot is sin omega t का differentiation क्या आएगा? If you differentiate this with respect to t, then it becomes x omega cos omega t, and x double dot is x omega square, या minus आएगा, and sin omega t, because cos omega t का differentiation क्या आता है? sin omega t, और ये ओमेगा का स्क्वायर हो जाता है. Okay, so if you take the maximum value, the amplitude, then it is x omega square. So if you replace this x double dot with x omega, so then inertia force is mi xi omega square. So always remember mi xi omega square or mx omega square. This is the inertia force. Okay, and we need to find out the inertia force for mass 1, for mass 2 and for mass 3. Now we know that the inertia force is given by mx omega square. Okay, so here the value of x, so value of x is 1. So what will be the inertia force at mass 1? So here mass is m, displacement is 1 and omega square, वो तो अपने को find out करना है. So here the inertia force will be m omega square because x is 1 here. Similarly, inertia force at the second mass is 2m omega square because displacement is 1 and mass is 2m. Similarly, at third mass, the inertia force is m omega square because x is 1 over here. So these are the inertia forces. Okay. Now force on the spring. Now this mass is undergoing displacement. So mass is undergoing displacement. That means there will be a force on the spring. Okay. So the force on the spring will be equal to the inertia force. Okay. So for at 3k spring, what is the inertia force? It is nothing but this one. So here you simply write down the value as m omega square. m omega square. For 3k, the spring force or the force which is acting on the spring is nothing but the inertia force of this mass. And what is the inertia force of this mass? It is nothing but m omega square. तो ये वैल्यू ऐसी की ऐसी यहाँ पे उतारनी है. Okay. Now this spring force at 4k upon 5, ये जो सेकेंड स्प्रिंग है इस पे कितना फोर्स आ रहा है? सो दैट इज नथिंग बट इनर्शिया फोर्स ऑफ मास m and inertia force of second mass. So both the inertia forces will be acting on this second. So what will be? So what the value which is to be written here will be the summation of the inertia force acting at mass m and inertia force acting at mass 2, which is nothing but these two. So we need to add these two values. We need to add these two values and write it down below 4k5, because the inertia force which is acting at 4k5 spring is the summation of the inertias acting at for the third mass and the second mass. So here write down. So 2m omega square plus m omega square becomes 3m omega square. Now, what is the force acting at the first spring? So obviously at first spring it will be the sum of the three inertia forces, because this one is at the fixed end. So all the inertia forces which are displacing in this direction, so all the inertia forces will be acting on this spring. So it will be the sum of inertia force, this one and this one. So what we will do, so we will add these two values and write it down below k. Okay. So here this will be m omega square plus 3m omega square, it becomes 4m omega square. So these are the spring forces, okay, Fi. So F1, F2, F3. So these are the spring forces. Now the spring displacement. Now because of the forces acting at these force, what will be the displacement? So the spring displacement we can easily find out. We know that the stiffness is nothing but force upon displacement, and displacement is equal to force upon stiffness. Okay, so Fi upon Ki will give you the spring displacement. Now we know that the force which is acting at this spring is 4m omega square, and the stiffness of this spring is K. So the spring displacement will be 4m omega square upon the displacement, that is K. Similarly, this is the force which is acting at the second spring 4k by 5, and the stiffness is 4k by 5. So the spring displacement will be, so it becomes this divided by this, so this becomes 15 m omega square upon 4k. Okay, so this divided by this will give you this value. Similarly, this force divided by 3k, so this becomes 3 omega square, m omega square divided by 3k. Okay. Now calculate the displacement of masses. Now again we need to find out the displacement of masses. Now because of these forces, how much these masses are being displaced. Okay, now this mass will displace equal to how much the spring is displacing. The amount by which this spring is displacing, the same amount of displacement will happen in this mass. Okay, so displacement of this spring and displacement of this mass will be same. So that is why to calculate the displacement of masses, the first mass will displace by the amount of displacement of the first spring. Okay, so what we'll do, we will write down the displacement value of the first mass, first spring as it is as the displacement of the first mass. So it will be 4m omega square by k. Now, how much this 2m will displace? This 2m will displace by amount of this first spring displacement and the second spring displacement. Okay, so the summation of spring 1 displacement and spring 2 displacement will give you the displacement of the second mass. So what we will do, we will add the displacement of the first mass and the displacement of the second mass, and that will give you, we will add these two, and that will give you the displacement of the second mass. So if you add it, then so denominator को common करना है, so multiply and divide by 4, so this becomes 16m omega square upon 4k. So 16 plus 15 becomes 31 m omega square divided by 4k. Okay, so this is the amount by which this mass will displace. Now, how much this mass m will displace? Obviously it will be the summation of displacement of this and this. So all these three masses, summation of the displacement of the three springs will be the displacement of this mass. So what we will do, we will add the displacement of mass 2 and displacement of mass 3. We will add it, and that will give you the displacement of the third mass. So this is 31 by 4k and this is 4k. So multiply and divide by 3 here and multiply and divide by 4. So that will give you 97 m omega square upon 12k. Okay. So these are the displacement of the masses. Okay. Now what we will do, we will find out the ratio of xi. This is x dash I. Okay, so this is the new displacement values, because initially we have considered the displacement as 1 and this is what we have calculated. Okay, now we will find out the ratio. So ratio is nothing but in the multi-degree of freedom system there are mode shapes. So mode shapes means the ratio of the displacement of the second mass with that of first mass. That is first mode shape. Second mode shape is the displacement of the third mass with that of first mass. So that is the relation between the displacements of the different masses will give the different mode shapes, or it is also called as eigenvectors. Okay, so here these are the ratio, means these are the mode shapes, and these mode shapes can be find out by dividing this displacement of the first mass with the displacement of the first mass. So this is divided by this first mass, that will give the answer as 1. Now the second displacement is calculated as this value is divided by this value. Okay, so this value divided by this value, that will give the answer as 1.94. And the third value will be obtained by dividing this value with that of the first value. That is why it is mentioned that xi dash means x1 dash upon x1 dash. So in denominator this is constant, that is x1 dash. So all the values are to be divided with the first value. So this divided by this value will give you 1. This value divided by this value will give the second displacement, and this value divided by this value, then this value divided by this value will give the third value, and that is equal to 2.20. 2.02. So these are the calculated displacements against the displacement that we have assumed. So initially we have assumed the displacement as 1, 1 and 1, and at the end of the first iteration we have obtained the values of 1, 1.94 and 2.02. And if you compare these value with the corresponding assumed value, then they are not matching. So here it is 1, it is 2.02, it is not matching. So here it is 1, here it is 1.94, it is not matching. So in this case we need to go for the second iteration. So here completes the first iteration, then we move on to the second iteration. So in the second iteration, the first row will contain the parameters, the horizontal parameters and the vertical parameters will remain exactly the same, but instead of assuming 1, 1, 1 in the first iteration, now these values will carry forward in the second iteration. Okay, so now here again we will plot the values here. So this is 1, 1.94 and 2.03. So these will be the values for the next iteration. So now we are, this is 1, 1.94 and 2.02. So these are the new values for the second iteration. Okay. Now the inertia forces. So inertia forces here, value of the displacement is 1, value of mass is m. So here the inertia forces will be m omega square. Okay. Now here the value of displacement is 1.94, the mass is 2m. So the inertia forces mx omega square will be 2 into 1.94 into m omega square. So 2 into 1.94 will give the answer as 3.88. So this becomes 3.88 m omega square. Okay, and here it is 2.02 m omega square. Now while calculating the forces on the spring, so the third spring will experience the same force, the inertia force of the third mass. So what we will do, so we will take this as it is, So here this is 2.02 m omega square. Now the spring force of the second spring will be the summation of the two inertia forces acting on mass 3 and mass 2. So simply add these two values. This will give as 5.9 m omega square. So 3.8 plus 2.02, so that will give 5.9 m omega square, and the spring force at the first spring will be the summation of these two values. So 5.9 plus 1, that is 6.9 m omega square. Okay, so this will give you this value. Now the spring displacement, that will be inertia force divided by the stiffness. So this is 6.9 m omega square divided by k. This is 5.9 m omega square, that is 7.38. So this is 7.38. So this divided by this, 7.38 divided by k, and this divided by 3k is 0.67 m omega square by k. So these are the spring displacements. Now we know that this mass will experience the displacement equal to the displacement of the first spring. So this value will be as it is over here. So this is 6.9 m omega square by k. Now the second mass will experience the displacement equal to the sum of the displacement of the two springs. So these two values will be added together. So 6.9 plus 7.38, so that is 14.28. So this is 14.28 m omega square upon k. And the third mass will experience the displacement of all the three springs. So this value plus this value will give you this value. So 14.28 plus 0.67, it is 14.95 m omega square upon k. Now if we calculate the mode shapes or the ratio, so this value divided by this value will give the answer 1. Now this value divided by this value will give the answer as 2.06, and this value divided by this value will give the answer as 2.17. Now here again, if you compare these values with the initially assumed displacement values, then they are not converging, they are not same, and we need to carry out the iterations till it is matching with the first decimal. So after decimal, first place should be matched. So we need to carry out the iteration till the first place after decimal is same. Okay. So here again these values are not matching. So again we need to go for the third iteration. So in third iteration we start with the ratio values of the second iteration. So here in the third iteration, I write down this is 1, this is 2.06 and 2.17. will be the inertia forces? It will be m omega square. This will be 4.12 m omega square, and this will be 2.17 m omega square. Now we will write down these values. This as it is 2.17 m omega square. Now these two values will add together. So the answer is 2. So it is 6.31 m omega square. Now these two values will be added together. So this will be 7.31 m omega square. Then find out the spring displacement. So force divided by stiffness. So 7.31 m omega square divided by k. This is 6.31 m omega square divided by 4k by 5. So that will give the answer as 15.2 m omega square by k, and this divided by 3k. So this is 0.72. This answer is 7.89, and this answer is 0.72 m omega square by k. Now the displacement of the first mass will be the displacement of the first spin. So 7.31 m omega square divided by k. Now these two values will add together to find out the displacement of the second mass. So that is coming out to be 15.2 m omega square by k, and these two values are added together to find out the displacement of the third mass. So that is equal to 15.92 m omega square by k. Now if you find out the ratio for the mode shapes, then it will be 1, it will be 2.07, and this is 2.18. Now if you compare these values with the corresponding values of the first row, then these values are converged up to the first place after decimal. So it is 2.1, it is also 2.1, 2.0, 2.0 and 1.1. So here the values are converged up to the first place after decimal. So we can say that here we can stop our iteration and find out the first natural frequency. Okay. So how to find out the first natural frequency? कुछ नहीं करना है, सिर्फ ये जो last displacement values है. Now here we have assumed the displacement value of the first mass as 1, and we have calculated the displacement value of the first mass as 1. That means this formula is can be equated to 1. Okay. Because we have assumed the displacement as 1, we have obtained the displacement as 1. That means the displacement of the mass is nothing but 7.31 m omega square by k can be equated to 1. So omega square is equal to k upon 7.31 into m. Now value of k is given 3 kilonewton per meter. So 3 kilonewtons, so we convert it into 3000 Newton per meter. So this is 3000 divided by 7.31 into mass is given as 1000 kg. So it is 1000. So the answer comes out to be 0.4104. This is omega square, and if you take the square root of this, then omega comes out to be 0.6406 radian per second. So this is the first natural frequency of this system. Okay, so this is the Stodola method. I hope that you have understood the iterations, and whenever there is a problem in the examination, then you can apply this Stodola method and you can find out the natural frequency. So thank you for watching this video. So thanks.